Sorry, I pressed the button by mistake while filming around the garden, so this is part 2 of my summer Sinapsis. This is Eryngium, beautiful blue hue on these that come out this time of the year, and they're looking lovely. The red is Lychnis chalcedonica. This flowers really well, herbaceous perennial. The crocosmia that's here, I'll show you later in the season, but this is a lovely orangey yellow that comes out, and I bought about 15 corms about 3 years ago, and now there's got to be 80 to 100 there, so they spread very quickly, and you can use them to share with your neighbours or whatever, or if you've got a large garden to move them around. Phlox is coming out, the white and the pink. They're not as tall as they were last year, because this year I gave them the Chelsea chop, and I was hoping that that would stunt their growth a little bit and they'd flower a little bit later. The clematis has been in flower now for weeks, and there's 2 different clematis here, and so we've had the second one coming out. The rose is now coming into its second flush, Blue Bayou, so that's great value, and I can smell the scent at the moment. It's really lovely coming out. Most of the things in the garden are taking off. This is Alenium, and behind it is another of the leucanthemums. This is quite a good one. It's a single flower, and it's the most common. Further down, I don't know if you can see it, is another form of leucanthemum. This one has lots of petals, and they look like a bit of an explosion really in a mattress factory. They just seem to just burst out from the stems. Lots of salvias coming out, this red one. Achillea, which is the purple. These are fantastic plants for the garden, especially now that they've developed the different colours. They are quite something, and I've got several different colours in the garden. The dahlias are coming up. I do love the single ones. They're very vibrant and give you stunning displays throughout the summer. We have got various things coming out all the way along the border, mainly dahlias. Another Achillea, this one's red, looking lovely. Veronica, beautiful purple, and it's not out yet, but the Campsis grandiflora, floribunda, sorry, will be out. You can just see the flower spikes now coming on it, and this is going to look absolutely spectacular in about a week or 2 weeks time. More crocosmia coming up. This is one of the small ones, looking really nice. Here we have, near the house, this is an Albizia, and it's a purple one. The foliage is so delicate and lovely. Something I've had now for about 6-7 years in this pot. It hasn't got too big, but it is quite nice. This AB's beautiful blue, and it's a good contrast next to the purple Albizia. A few alpines I've been growing, cacti, succulents in the garden. They're looking lovely. The most of the Digiplexis has finished flowering now. It's just coming to the end. It has been lovely, and so with Digiplexis you would cut it right back down to the ground, and we'll get a second flowering later this year. Managed to get hold of a banana, which I've put in, but it's not taking off as it should do. It should really be a lot bigger than that at this time of the year, but this hot weather might bring it on, which would be quite nice. Morning Glory coming out. The red Crocosmia is called Lucifer. I didn't tell you that, but that one's the largest of the Crocosmia and is quite spectacular, and will grow and produce lots of corms which you can divide up and use. The rest of the garden's starting to develop as well, and this is the side border, which is quite new. It's only been here 2 years. That's a lovely yellow berberis, very pretty and attractive. I said I had several leucanthemums. This is the third one I've got. This is a beautiful yellow that's coming out at the moment, and they just are great value for what they are. Another golden conifer, another helenium. The side border, the bottom border is starting to take on a life of its own. We have lots of echinacea coming out, and they'll be out in flower soon. And these are, I've got different varieties. It's also known as the cone flower. Eremurus in the background is finishing flowering, but there are other ones coming up. This is another Albizia that's coming up with a yellow, just a plain green leaf, and that will look spectacular. The lilies are coming out. The delphiniums are just going over, so I've just cut them back. That's finished flowering, so we'll see what happens to those. Put a castor oil plant in from seed, which will grow and give a bit of height and impact in the garden, and they are lovely. A lot of my friends have got them growing. Plain orange Crocosmia, again lovely architecturally, give a bit of structure to the garden and just break up normal dullness of just round leaves. So that's what you're looking for, something that's going to take over. The lichness in the background, which just self-seeds everywhere, is always vivid and very spectacular. And if you collect the seed, you can just have it all around the garden. Lots of the salvias are coming out now. They're starting to flower. This one's going over, but there's another one in the background there, which is going to be a blue or dark purple, which will come out. One in the background there. Another leucanthemum, which is looking well. The rose on the back fence has been quite spectacular. I'm really pleased with that. And the foliage plants, the gunners are looking really good. Salvias again, purple, they've come up well, and we've got them interspersed with a really nice golden yellow dahlia, which does really well at the back of the garden. We've got in the shaded border, the hostas are starting to flower. In the background underneath that hosta is a lovely shrubby hydrangea, which is going to look superb. As it gets bigger and older, it'll grow up to a reasonable height at the back of the garden, and that will be huge panicles. They'll be at least 4 or 5 times the size of that. This lacewing hydrangea is coming out, and that's gonna look really lovely. It's only a couple of years old, so it's really taking off. That's most of the garden for the moment. Lots of projects on the go. In the greenhouse, I didn't show you the penstemons that are coming out. Just a few. We've got different coloured penstemons in the garden. Always great value penstemons. This is a beautiful red one. but I have got various different varieties. Take ever so easy from cuttings, so that's quite good to have. There's the Echinacea I was talking about. This one's already out in flower, and I do like Echinacea. The newer varieties don't do as well as the common purple cone flower, but they're doing all right. They're taking off. In the greenhouse, I've been still taking lots of cuttings and runners, various things. The other day I lifted these Hemerocallis that are here. It's a dwarf variety, so it shouldn't get too tall, but it's doing quite well. I've taken some rose cuttings, we'll see how they do, but most of these that I took earlier in the year are doing quite well. Now in the greenhouse I've still got a couple of Brugmansias which are in pots. No room in the garden for them, so I'm going to have to leave them there. We've got tomatoes which are starting to crop, as you'll probably see, growing there. Just 3 tomatoes, that's enough because there's only 2 of us, but they're different varieties. They're doing quite well. I'm also growing peppers, and you'll probably see this particular pepper is going to be a red variety, and is looking well. The propagator is absolutely full of cuttings that I've taken, and I'm trying to keep them in the shade. This is a Bignonia which I've never grown before, but a client gave me some seedlings and we're trying it. It's not hardy, but it has a red flower, and it's be quite interesting to see how that does. I've got one growing indoors because they said it wasn't hardy and can be grown in the greenhouse, and I have one which I've got here outdoors, Bignonia, and we'll see how that does. The ones in the greenhouse seem to be taking off a little bit better than the ones outdoors, so we'll see what happens there. And that's about it for now. Keep gardening, enjoying it, sit back and try and enjoy some of it, relax. You've spent all this time on the garden, so you might as well enjoy it while you can. Okay, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye for now.